Welcome to Factorio base review. My name is Nidaus and today I'm going to bring you a really awesome base. Now look at this, isn't this already awesome? This is made by K3N1M0 and it is, I'm just going to throw some key points at you so that you know what this series is, what this review is going to be about. It is obviously a hexagonal modular base. It is a vanilla death world base. It is 4,800 signs per minute. It's constructed of modules that are very identical. It is using isolated robot networks. It is using train limits in 1.1. And there are so many cool things about this, and not the least, just the aesthetic feel of this in and of itself. So let's dive in and have a look at this absolutely amazing base. First, thank you, K3N1M0, for allowing me to review a base, and I'm sorry for not doing it sort of on time. But the good thing was that in the time it took me to get around to actually doing this review, you managed to build the base even bigger and even more awesome. So let's take a look at it. So as I mentioned, it is a modular megabase. So each of these modules here, you can see here, this is even numbered, so you can look it on the map. This is number 08, and somewhere out here, I think we have number 40. There are 40 of these in construction. They're all completely identical, and we're going to spend a bit of time. The way I do these base views is that I go through the science, the trains, the mining, the logistics, the power, the base defense, and sort of go through each aspect of this base. And the parts that are most interesting, I'll go through with more time, and the parts that are just like standard, I'll just not spend as much time on. So we are going to look at a module to start with. There are no lights, but that's because he's decided that it looks better at night this way. I am, however, going to do true, always day. There we go. I have, this is a death world base, but I have disabled the biters because I don't want to listen to all the attacks coming in. We're going to look at the base events later. But the core part of this is this module, because once this module, this is where the majority of the design work has been done into making this module. Each of these modules are designed to be producing 2 signs per second or 120 per minute. Now what I can do is I can use my rate calculator. Yes, the mod is called rate calculator, and I can also wait for the autosave to complete. I can do the rate calculator here, and we will get an awful lot of things that are being produced. If I schedule it by minute, you can see all the sciences are above 120 per minute. That is great. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Yeah, 5. That's how much is being consumed. Where's the last one? What? There. 1. Oh, there we go. It's already all the way up to 177. That's why it's not next to the other ones. So the way that it is designed, or the way that it is constrained so that it doesn't use more than 2 signs per second, is actually going through here. The science facility can only consume 120, and that's actually something I would recommend if you want to make something to be if you want to guide the science, guide it by setting the consumption rate, not the production rate. The production rate should just be too much. It's always just going to be a bit more than your consumption rate, so that you always have like internal buffers in these regions. So that's how it is geared. The whole thing is bottlenecked and therefore geared by the science consumption here, and everything else is going around. What we should look at is, we're not going to look at that right now. We are going to go here and look at how this is fed. So this is fed by raw materials, which I think is super interesting actually. Like getting raw materials in, and this is where we have some of the interesting things here. Each of these stations has a train limit of 2. And there are a total of 95 trains in the network. 95 trains. That corresponds to, there's 40 of these units, and this one is hard set to 2 trains. And you can see here, it can fill in 2 iron trains, 2 copper trains, and that means also on the copper trains, we also have 95 trains, so that there can be 80 of them already located here, and then 15 sort of out there in the world being filled up, because there's always, as soon as this one goes out, the next train rolls in. The trains are 310, and well, I think that's a good number as long as you don't do belts, because you can see here there are no belts in the space. And we have 1 for coal, 1 for stone, and one for oil coming in. The water is interesting because you can see here, the water is, oh my god, that's cheating. It's actually not cheating at all, because what you do is you find a location such as this one, and then stamp the blueprint on top of it, or actually probably maybe more like this. I'm sure that he has like an idea about where are the water inputs, like here, here, here. And then when you stamp it down, you select one of these regions that are full of water, so you can stamp it down, and then you can landfill everything except this location, put in these ones, and then landfill over it. It's a bit tiring to do that kind of thing, but please, 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 just give us the water pumps in the ground. I know this is the fact that we have to sort of jump through hoops to do it. It's kind of annoying. I can understand why, because this is kind of silly. You just plop it in there, but you know, it is what it is. So let's go through some of the various things. The one thing that really surprised me is how little oil is actually being consumed for one of these modules. But again, I mean, if it is enough, it's enough, and it certainly is enough. So you can go here, and there's a bit of cracking, not much cracking, bit of this. One of the things that is important here, some of the things, like they're very low quantity, they're just being built like this, and then somehow this one is squeezed in here by making batteries there. So there's a lot of interesting designs here, and you can just go into so much detail with this design. We're just going to be like, okay, why was this? Oh, okay. The one thing though that I want to show you is a lot of these here, they're only working when they get a signal of 1. And if I hover over this one, you will be able to see out on the right hand side, sometimes there's a little flicker there and there. There's a tiny flicker, which means that all of the inserters that have this circuit condition, all of them that have the circuit condition here, they are disabled, but they will then be disabled for 1 tick every, and I think that's 144 ticks. That means they will be idle in the meantime, and therefore don't use any processing power. So that's a way that you can build a bigger base and then gear these towards, you can see here, these are actually, interestingly enough, not set, but these are set. So you can see here, it fills up, and this one then goes only every cycle, every 144 ticks, and there are 60 ticks per second, so it's about every 2.5 seconds it activates and then goes out. Otherwise, when this one is making 1, then it'll unload 1, unload 1, unload 1. Whenever the robot comes in here and picks up 1, it'll unload 1 more in here. So that's a way to make sure that we're allowing this to go down, and then it gets filled up. It works pretty good. I think it's a bit of a shame that you have to do it for big bases, but it's pretty cool when it's done correctly, as this is done. I want to show you something that is really clever. At first, when I look at this, I immediately go, no. Unloading into provider chest and then having the robots take care of it is not good. But it's actually quite clever the way. You can see here there is an active provider and there is a passive provider for each one. What this means is that each of these trains will be unloaded into both of those, and active providers will always have priority. So right now at this point, you can see the robots, they will come to these locations. Let me just, where's my mouse cursor? There. You can see how many are scheduled for pickup immediately, but all the other ones, nothing is scheduled for pickup. So right now it is exclusively emptying this one, the active provider, until this train is empty. And as soon as this is empty, it'll just start consuming. While the trains are shifting, it'll start consuming from the other one. There we go. So now it'll start consuming from all of these other ones, because those are available. Why can I not see which ones are going to be consumed from? But please consume from something. Yeah, there we go. This pickup. And now it comes in. It'll of course top up the passive provider, and then top up the active provider. The active provider doesn't have a lot here, but that will always be consumed first. So this is just basically a way to make sure that, or let's turn it around and say, if we didn't have this, what would happen? Well, what would happen is that if you just unload it into passive providers or to storage providers, then you would have the issue that the train would unload or partially unload, and then whichever one sort of was closest would be emptied first. And only when that was emptied and the next one's empty, next and next, like, then it'll go to the very last one at the end, and that meant the train would be incredibly unbalanced, and it would actually run out of every single thing until there's only one wagon left. This way it is much more balanced, and there is a little buffer, so it'll continue to always consume from the output chests or the active provider chest first. So it's a really clever way to do robot unloading, and I have not thought of this before, but it is definitely something that I now put in my toolbox so that I can go like, okay, robot unloading. What I do with robot unloading is always unload everything into active providers, and then from the active providers I move them to storage chest so that I can control it. But this is way better. So huge props to K3N1M0 for doing this. It's super cool, and something that I've learned from this page review. So I love the fact that I learned something for these reviews. As we're working on trains, let's actually look a bit more on the trains. The interesting thing here is how simple this train system is. This train system is just flat out saying, give me 2 trains, always give me 2 trains, that's it. These ones will obviously be having 1 train. Well, here, can I click the station? There we go, only 1 train. And the train network in itself is interesting and a bit weird. I think that, so you can see here, it's not everywhere. Like, I can't really tell why there's no connection between this and that. It might be something to do with this link here, that it doesn't like having that one next to it. And again, this one is quite close, but it could also just be a matter of only adding them where they're kind of needed. So from this one, whether you go down here and over, or you go this way and over, it ultimately doesn't really matter much. What is very interesting about this is because the base is so geographically spread, the trains are so big, 10 wagons, and each of those facilities consume so little material. It's only 200, it's only 2 signs per second. Then there's not a lot of train traffic in the network. I mean, you see a few things moving here, but if we look at here's this train overview, very simple. If we look at these here, like how much is actually moving? 1, okay, thank you, autosave. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So only 10 of these, so that's like 10% at the current snapshot are actually moving at any given time. So little chance of getting congestion here, even though it's not an optimal network because there are so many connections. But you know, aesthetics, form over function in this case, but it still works, and that's the beautiful part of it. Also, the way that they're randomly spread out and the mines are randomly spread out, that means, well, they're probably going to be there's going to be some kind of balance, so they're not all congested through the same location. Let's have a look at the trains and the loading location. So let me just jump over to a loading location. So this is a loading location, and it's quite interesting, this one. There are some very interesting choices made here that I'd like to go through when it comes to trains and mining together. So let's look at the mining. You can see here it's at 150 mining productivity. Actually, something I always seem to forget in these things, I should be looking at science just to show you how it is working. And if you look at a 1 hour here, 4,800. If you look at 10 hours, it is constant. It is rock solid at 4,800. That is super, super nice to see. I love it. I can never get my bases to be this this consistent. There's always like weird things happening in my bases. I don't know why. But with 150 mining productivity, you can do a lot of things that make no sense. This one being one of them. This is not how I would recommend you set up miners. But if you have 150 mining productivity, you can get away with anything. So this one, for example, let's have a look at it. It's only 1 speed module. And then we have, this is mining at 0.75 per second. And then it's on top of that, it has 150. So it's 0.75 times 16. That's 12 per second is what each of these provides. So 2 of these, that's 24. That means when they're active, it's actually 24 per second. So you can see that at this point, there isn't really a good point to just jamming them in together, because you're not going to be able to consume this much. I mean, this one, I think we can just do this one. And per second, 440 per second. That's plenty to feed this. And how much we got here? We got 600. I love that there's always one construction bot in each of these. And they go in here and they fill up buffer chests. I don't know why it has to be buffer chests, but I would say requesters should do the same thing. But you know, we'll let it slide. So the way that this works is, and kind of an interesting thing. It's kind of it's gonna set the request here. Let's see if I can figure this out, because I think it's really weird. But it kind of makes sense. What happens is that it summarizes everything in here on the wire. So it summarizes everything. It goes in to, no, it here. This one is reading logistics content. So if I could just have a look at what the logistics content is in this logistics set. Oh, okay, 40,000. And okay, all of these are just at 0. All right, let's go up here. So it reads 40,000 from the logistic content. That's why it has to be buffer chest. So it reads how much is in here. Then this is really a weird way. I'm not really sure I like this, but I'm trying to understand why it does. So it has 40,000 in here. Then it takes the 40,000 because there are a total number of 100 of the buffer chests. So the content of that is in the logistic network. It gets put in here. It also summarizes. It also includes the stuff that's in here, the passive providers, if they actually fill up. Like this one is filled up to 100. So then it divides it by 99. It doesn't divide it by 100. It divides it by 99, so that even though there are 100, so that each of these requests are just slightly more than what they already have. So this is the real idea of it. Now I would traditionally just say these ones should be set up to 2,000 and then request. But if you set it as I would have done, set it up to 2,000, then it will fill up the first ones first. Like all of these will go in here and fill those up and then fill that up because they're the closest one. And only at the end, once everything is filled up to 2,000, will they start filling up the top ones. What this does is prevent it by basically saying you want to request all that you have divided by 99, not by divided by 100, because then it would be, as Kimino has said, too close to the limit. You want to see here, it basically says you have what 480, but you want 500. As more goes in here, the average gets the total amount in the storage boxes at the mining facility plus the total amount in the buffer chest ready for load increases, and as that increases, the requesting amount also increases, and that will continue to increase all the way up to the time when it is 2,000 in each of these, and then so that's one thing. What happens then on top of it is that it sends a signal out on the red wire up here. The red wire goes into this one where it divides by 404. If this was divided by 100, then this would be divided by 400. That means it basically splits it in, and that becomes a very small number. You can see how the number here. Since I have at this point, let's see, in the total logistics network, 42,000 divided by 100, that's 400 something divided by 40. By 400 here, then it gets about 1. So this one will have a train limit set to 1. I don't know if there was good explanation, but the idea of doing this, and I think this is also really, really interesting and very, very good, is that it basically says, see if I can try to explain it again in a different way. Each of these buffer chests are set to slightly more than the average of what they already have. That's the whole point. They basically are set to the point where they go like, just give me a bit more. Just give me a bit more. Which means they're going to spread out between these. And as more of these go up, then they go above the average. And then the other ones will start requesting proportionally more. So they'll always even out, and they'll always have a request that just says, give me just a bit more. I like it. It's super super brilliant, and it also is used here input to guide a number to be between 0 and 6 or 0 and 5, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the amount that is room for in the stacker. So that's a really good idea on how to do this. One thing though that is important, and I think I would have made like an obscene amount of mistakes, and I don't know, maybe Camilo can just mention this, but you can see there is one big gigantic robot network that covers all of it, except that every single one of these are isolated from the network. But if I just once accidentally put one here and linking two of the networks, oh man, is it going to be a nightmare, because then all of this will start flowing out and the robots are going to go out and things will go in. It's just a nightmare. And on top of that, every single one of these, you can see this is a separate network, and where we load right now, it is disjoint networks here and here. Very, very carefully set it up. I love the idea, but I would hate to implement it myself, because this is just, when you misplace this one by one tile, see, this is not connected, this is connected. If you misplace one of these by one tile with a copy paste error, or just because you don't think for a second, then suddenly you have these logistics bots somehow leaked into this network. Robopod Matsuri. Interesting. Hello, Matsuri, the inventor of the Matsuri loader. And yeah, we do have some logistics bots in here. So that's the trains. It is a really interesting way that it's controlled on how much these have, and it seems to work. Very simple train system, but the mining and the robot controls are kind of advanced. We've now jumped back in the hub because there are a few things I want to illustrate here that's pretty ingenious in terms of how to guide the base. Here there's a warning system, and this basically monitors all of what is available. This let's see. So the ore indicators are there to indicate how many loads are available. And let's just see here. If I take this one, it will, yeah, this one, this output one, can I just unload it here, here? Where does that go back in on this global network? Does not go out. Oh, it goes out from that one. This one is, yes, there it goes. This one tells that there is one load available of iron. That of course goes in here to be set the limit, but it also goes in here to be added to the iron ore indicator on the green wire. So 42. What this means is that if I look at this, I now can see that there are 42, currently 40 iron loads available for pickup, 36 loads available for pickup, 18 stone available for pickup, 14 coal available for pickup. And then the next colors, they are kind of designed to be matching. So the red one matches the copper, the blue one matches the iron, the yellow the stone, and the pink is, I think the pink is the oil. No, yes, pink is the oil. Yeah, but that's done something. So basically that means that the indicators, the colored indicators, are how many trains are currently being stationed at on location. So you can see at this location, this one will output the number of trains allocated to the station. So what the warnings are going for is here. It'll go for some different ones that says if there's less than 4 available, then it says that there's not enough trains or not enough iron loads available for pickup. It's kind of time to make more iron mines. This one is saying there are currently a lot of trains. If there are not a lot of trains being loaded, I don't think I get why that one is there. And then the last one is all the trains, that's subtracting one from the other and outputting it as that one, but it's only outputting up to this one, which means that all of the locations are full. Yeah, so that means all the loads that are available in the network are also being picked up. That's basically looking at the difference between the iron indicator and the iron ore indicator and the blue one. So if they are too close, that means every single load that is there is already being consumed. And you can see here there's 10 copper, 10 iron, and if this drops below 8, it is defined as there are not enough trains available, or sort of not enough trains allocated for loading. I think that's a bit sharp, that constraint. When it's less than 4, then it's low. But I mean, hey, it works. It works really well. So it's pretty good in a base like this to get some aggregate warnings about what's going on. This is where the indicator, the one that sends this is a counter, just counts upwards. You can see it counts up to 144, and then it starts over. This one just identifies when the C input from the counter is equal to 1. That means once every 144 ticks, it'll send a signal out. You can see here, it flickers, boom, there's a signal. And the red signal is a secondary signal, which only counts every 5th. It counts a lot slower here. So that counts the one here, so that counts like 5 times as slow as that. And that's used for here. This is an indicator whether the artillery is online or offline, then it'll send a signal here, but only a signal when the signal is 2. So when 2 is equal to 1, 2 is equal to 1, when the indicator 2 is true, it's better, then it will send a signal out to the base defense that it now activates the artillery. And this is a way for when you research the next level of artillery range, you might want to 4 million, yes, great. You might want to stop your artillery just for a while to just shoot a bit and then back off. So this is a way of pacing the artillery so you don't get overwhelmed. And this is the oil counter that's there to just figure out how basically it's the same as the warnings and that. But what I want to, lastly, I want to take a look at the power. We should click on a power pole. Sorry about the excessive clicking. Almost 1 million power poles, 35 gigawatts of power, looking good, very stable. It takes a lot of space, but hey, it's here, and it is just a completely the same design being stamped down again and again and again, and you can just take more of these. So this one is left. All the ones that are empty here, they will be they are reserved. And the last thing we want to look at is the base defense. This base defense is, in my opinion, a bit on the weak side. It doesn't have like a solid wall. It just basically relies on the biters just slowly going through here and then having lasers at the back and just overwhelming with lasers. It's okay, but it does take a lot of damage. I would definitely throw in some flamers, but I can also see that since so many of the lines here are diagonal, then flamers might not be the best thing, because you can't really point them outwards. You'll have to point them either downwards or that way. So I don't know. I think it's working, but it's a smidge on the weak side. It's just my sort of assertion on it, because you're gonna have like constant warnings. Of course, with such a big robot network and such a big base, you will not have a problem. You'll never run out of materials to just replenish it, but you're gonna be listening to the incessant warnings all the time. So that means we've actually gone all the way through all the different locations. I want to just zoom in. Okay, the hub here, and I love that it's called a hub. It's pretty simple. Well, maybe it's not simple, but it just makes everything here, and quantities, modules, and all these things that you might need to go out to fill up on yourself, and also fill up on these. They have lots of different building roboports here, or building Spidertrons, and you can see here that's basically the only thing that's on this dashboard is to bring the Spidertrons out to start building things. I think that's pretty interesting way of doing it. And let me see what the gearing is on these, how much they have on the grid. They only have a single roboport, so they don't cover very far. Or maybe that's just that one, is it? Nope, they're all like the same. So they have personal laser defense as well. It seems a weird combination, but you know, if it works, it works. The speed is the most important thing. Over here, we just have all the sub ingredients needed to build the hub, and that's also just taking iron and copper and stone and oil and all of that stuff inbound. Because of course you need this. This is the core of the base that just keeps the base expanding. So there we have it. That is 4,200 signs per minute. fully operational for a very long time on a Deathwell base. This is currently running, okay, on, I guess it should be, oh, okay, yeah, with all these debug settings set, but without biters, it's running 60-60, even while recording. And with biters, it's going to run a hell of a lot less on my PC because, well, biters suck. They eat UPS more than they eat your base. So I hope you like it. If you like it, and if you see Camino, he is sometimes hanging out in Discord and also in the Twitch chat. Be sure to compliment him on this amazing base. So thank you very much to Camino for allowing me to review the base. It's been super awesome. The base is available for download in the link in the description below, together with all the other base reviews I do. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, hit a like button. If you feel that it's worth sharing with other people, do share it. And of course, yeah, if you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Until then, take care and stay effective.